All right, so are you ready to go on another episode of Short Stories, Long Talks?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Great. So today we're going to be taking a look at an excerpt from a Spanish text.
Okay.
And the title of this one is Vi una mujer Jaila miraba el mar.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And so that translates to, I saw a woman and she was looking at the sea.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's evocative.
Yeah, and it kind of already gives you a little bit of a creepy feeling
It does.
from that title.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the excerpt itself is quite a bit creepier.
Okay.
We're starting off with a description of a beach scene,
Right.
which is beautiful and serene, but then things take a very dark turn.
Okay.
And so I think that's really what we're going to try to unpack today, is that juxtaposition between the beauty and the horror.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that contrast right away is something that kind of draws you in.
Yeah.
I think when you start reading this, you get this sense of tranquility. It's almost hypnotic. We meet Rocio standing in the ocean as the sun's setting, and she's completely absorbed by the waves.
Yeah.
And the water is erasing her footprints as the tide comes in. It's almost like a visual metaphor for something she's trying to wash away.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Do you think?
It's definitely it's a mystery right from the beginning.
Yeah.
What is she trying to wash away?
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
But you're right, it is very beautiful at first.
Yeah.
But then we start to notice these little details that are a little bit off.
Exactly. Like that smile.
Mm-hmm.
The text describes it as a perverse smile.
Yeah.
Almost like a smirk. And then she's wearing this apple pendant.
Right.
It's a classic symbol, but it has a bite taken out of it.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what's the story behind that missing piece?
Yeah.
Is it symbolic of some hidden darkness within her?
Well, and then it gets even creepier because a hand emerges from the water,
Right.
reaching out to her.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, talk about unsettling.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really even react,
She doesn't.
She just kind of speaks to the hand.
Like it's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, like she expects it.
Right.
Yeah, and she seems so detached from what's happening around her.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you brought up earlier. The text describes her eyes as dreamy.
Yeah.
She's just kind of lost in thought.
Yeah.
Even when she kicks the hand away, she seems more preoccupied with, the marks her footprints made in the sand than she does with this disembodied hand reaching out to her.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Her awareness of what's happening around her seems to be a little, we're
Questionable.
questioning it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after this encounter with the hand, she leaves the beach and we get a shift in setting.
Okay.
The sun is setting, shops are closing, street lights are coming on.
Yeah.
We're moving from this natural world into something more urban, more ordinary.
Right. And that's where I think that contrast really comes in.
Yeah.
The darkness that she's carrying with her really stands out.
Yeah.
When you see her in this more mundane setting.
Yeah.
We follow her to her hotel room, which is described as austere in the text.
Yeah.
Even the word choice, I think, adds to that unsettling feeling.
Right.
It's dark, it's bare, almost like a prison cell.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to spend the night there.
No.
And then we see these marks on her neck.
Uh-oh.
And it's like, hold on, where did those come from?
Right.
The text doesn't tell us directly, but
Yeah.
it's obviously making us wonder.
Yeah, it's planting a seed of doubt.
Yeah.
It feels like something really bad has happened or is about to happen.
Right.
And this is where the story takes its truly terrifying turn.
Okay.
Rocio is washing her face in the bathroom, and then we catch this glimpse of the mirror behind her.
Yeah.
And lying in the bathtub is Matthias,
Oh my gosh.
covered in ice. He's been mutilated, and he's barely alive.
Wow.
It's just shocking.
And the contrast is so jarring because she's just talking to him like nothing is wrong. She says, ya no somos jóvenes, and la vida se nos escapa. So we're not young anymore, and life is slipping away from us.
Yeah, how can she be so calm,
I know.
in the face of such horror?
Yeah, it's just unbelievable that she would be so, almost nonchalant about it.
Yeah, it's almost like she's trying to normalize what she's done,
Yeah.
to rationalize the unimaginable.
Yeah.
And the text does not shy away from the details of his injuries.
Yeah.
One leg has been amputated below the knee. The other is almost severed. There's blood staining the ice.
Yeah.
It's horrifyingly vivid.
Yeah.
Really hard to read.
And then we see that she picks up a handsaw. So she's been sawing off parts of his body.
Okay.
I mean, that final image of her just calmly continuing to mutilate him as the sun sets.
Yeah.
It just burned into my brain.
It's a tough one.
It's really hard to even think about.
Yeah, I think, this excerpt throws us into a world of violence and mystery.
Yeah.
And it raises so many questions like, who are Rocio and Matthias?
Yeah.
What is their relationship and what led to this horrific scene?
Right.
But I think beyond those surface level questions, the text is prompting us to look inward a little bit.
Yeah.
To confront those darker aspects of human nature.
Yeah.
And ask ourselves, what are we capable of when we're pushed to our limits or when we think no one is watching?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, it is. I feel like every little detail, in this excerpt is meant to make us feel uncomfortable and keep us in suspense.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, we're dropped right into the middle of this situation.
Right.
But there's just enough information to make us question everything.
Yeah, like what happened before she got to the beach?
Right, exactly.
What's going to happen next?
Right, and it makes you wonder, who is this observer?
Right.
Because it's told through the eyes of an unnamed observer.
Yeah, the title itself, I saw a woman and she was looking at the sea.
Right.
It suggests that someone was there watching her.
Yeah.
On that beach.
But what's their connection to the story?
Right.
We don't know.
It's like we're trying to solve this puzzle and we're missing some pieces.
Right, and speaking of missing pieces.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about that hand that reaches out of the water.
Right.
Do you think it could have been Matthias?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Trying to escape.
I mean, it's chilling to think about, right?
Yeah.
Matthias clinging to life, reaching out for help, and she's almost indifferent.
Yeah.
And remember what she says to the hand?
Yeah.
It's too late to go back.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like she's taunting him.
Yeah.
Like she's already decided his fate.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
And then the apple pendant I keep thinking about. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really important symbol.
It is. It's loaded with meaning.
Yeah, the bite taken out of it.
Right.
It makes me think of, temptation.
Yeah.
Transgression.
Yeah, the fall from grace.
Yeah, like succumbing to something evil.
Right.
And it makes you wonder if she's like embracing that darkness.
Yeah, is she the serpent in this story?
Ooh.
Is she the one tempting Matthias toward his destruction?
Yeah.
Or is she also a victim, of circumstance?
It's so thought-provoking.
It is.
It's not just about the violence. It's like it makes you think about the psychology of the characters.
Yeah. Their motivations.
Yeah, and then what about the water washing away her footprints?
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it could be read on a couple of different levels.
Okay.
On a practical level, it could be her trying to cover her tracks.
Yeah.
To hide the evidence.
Right.
But on a deeper level, I think it speaks to her desire to cleanse herself of what she's done.
Okay.
The water is this vast, unknowable force.
Yeah.
That can conceal and purify.
Right.
So it's like she's hoping that the ocean can wash away her guilt.
Yeah.
And her past.
Yeah, what about those marks on her neck?
Oh, yeah.
We still don't know where they came from.
Right.
They're so disturbing.
They are.
I mean, do you think they were self-inflicted?
It's possible.
Or could they be part of some kind of ritual?
That's the brilliance of the text, right?
Yeah.
It keeps us guessing.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront these unsettling possibilities.
Yeah. Are they a sign of her own self-destruction?
Right.
Or are they something more sinister?
Exactly.
Something we don't even understand.
Yeah, like a mark of something otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's open to interpretation.
I think it's interesting how this excerpt starts with this beautiful beach scene.
Yeah.
And then it just like slowly pulls us into this dark and mysterious world.
Right. And it makes you question the nature of reality.
Yeah.
What we see as beautiful and peaceful
Yeah.
can easily be shattered by an act of violence.
Right.
And I think it's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. And that sometimes the most disturbing truths are hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just crazy to me how much this story, packs into such a short excerpt.
I know, it's incredible.
It just leaves you with so many questions.
Right, and you just want to know more.
Yeah, I want to know about Rocio and Matthias.
Yeah.
What's their history? What led to this?
That's that backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes you think about what could happen next.
I think that's a testament to the author's skill.
Yeah.
They give us just enough to spark our curiosity.
Yeah.
And leave the rest up to our imaginations.
So let's talk about Rocio for a second.
Okay.
What do you think is going on with her?
Yeah.
What's driving her to do this?
Well, it's a great question.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's an easy answer.
Right.
The text gives us some clues.
Yeah.
but it never really spells out her motivations.
Right.
We see the perverse smile, the detachment,
right,
the calmness while she's committing these horrible acts.
Right. Is it just sadism?
Yeah, is that all it is?
Yeah.
Or is it something more?
Yeah.
Is there a twisted sense of love?
Ooh.
Maybe a desire for revenge?
Okay.
You know, is she trying to regain some kind of control?
Yeah.
Because she feels like her life is falling apart?
Well, and it's interesting because she does say to Matthias,
Yeah.
you know, we're not young anymore and life is slipping away.
Right. There's this sense of melancholy there.
Yeah.
Almost like she's mourning something.
Yeah. But then how do you reconcile that with the violence?
Right. It's a contradiction.
Yeah.
But that's what makes her character so interesting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she thinks this is a way to stop time,
Wow.
to freeze this moment in their lives before it disappears.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a twisted expression of grief,
Yeah.
a way to hold on to him,
Wow.
even as life is slipping away.
That's a really interesting take on it.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It makes you think about the title.
Right.
I saw a woman and she was looking at the sea. Maybe the sea represents time.
Yeah, the vastness of it.
Yeah.
The constant change.
She's trying to fight against it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she's trying to wash away her footprints.
Right. Not just to hide the evidence, but to like erase the past.
To rewrite their story.
Yeah.
To create something outside of time.
Wow. This has been a really dark.
It has.
But it's so fascinating how much you can unpack from such a short piece of writing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example of how a few details,
Yeah.
a powerful image, a lingering question
Right.
can really stick with you long after you finish reading.
So what do you think happened before the scene? What do you think happens next?
Yeah.
Let me know your theories.
So for everyone listening, catch you next time, folks, on this podcast series called Short Stories, Long Talks, exclusively on Spotify.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
See ya.